Someone like, yeah. Pete.
I'll nominate Steve for House District 52.
Second.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Are there any other candidates to be nominated for House District 52? And Matt wants me to ask twice. Any other nominations for House District 52? Hearing none. Okay, so we'll close the nominations. I'll say a few words. So I got 37% of the vote 2 years ago against Yurash Zokai. She is one of the most far-left progressive members of the state legislature, and very proud of that fact. She is endorsed by the Democratic Socialists of America and the Working Families Party, which to me are really scary, and yet they are gaining traction. Those are parties that only exist to try to control the Democratic Party, right? So they're a party within a party. And we see what Zoran Memdani is doing in New York City and the problems he's having implementing his agenda of higher taxes and extreme government control. Those are very bad things. On the other hand, we do have a lot of needs in our country and our state, and the government needs to do more to help those who need some help, and to make sure that we have a government structure that goes along with an understanding of the advancements occurring in society. What do we do with artificial intelligence, for instance? Can we just ignore that, or do we have to pay attention to what's going on with it? I would say we have to pay attention. The housing issue of the cost of housing is very important. We need to make sure that government is not interfering with the costs of building houses or making homes available. One of the issues that, and I attended meetings on these things, housing authority type discussions, where the developers all said that the construction defects law in Colorado was a major impediment to lowering the price of new construction, because the lawyers will basically hold the developer hostage or threaten a lawsuit on some kind of defect, and the insurance companies are basically forced to pay up some smaller amount to avoid a potential bigger lawsuit, right? It's sort of a defensive kind of mechanism. And so the insurance costs a lot. Well, some of the members of the Democrats in the legislature tried to make a change to the law to loosen it up, to reduce those insurance costs. And lo and behold, who was one of the 5 members who voted against that? Yurash Zokai. And there she was complaining about the cost of housing, and yet she voted against the only bill that was really there to try to help alleviate this situation. And it had to be because she's in bed with the trial lawyers and doing those kind of contributions and thinking that the government control and the lawyers control is more important than actually delivering something of value to the consumers. And I attended the No Kings rally at CSU to see what was going on. I got there, and that was already last year. It was one of the first ones. And there was Yurash Zokai talking with this is unfortunate. So, the people who organized the No Kings rally, at least at that location, it could have been different at other locations, they had the Palestinian flags up there behind Yurash Zokai, up behind the dais, which is, in my opinion, very anti-Semitic, okay, and supportive of what happened on October 7th and the invasion of Israel, and completely apologetic of the murderous Hamas regime. And the guy, the Democratic Socialist, came up after Yurash. She didn't say a whole lot. She's pretty careful with what she says. And he said, "Oh, Yurash Zokai is great because she's just like Zoran Memdani." And I agree, we don't want to get into this whole Zoran Mamdani thing all the time. You know, that's New York City, that's not Colorado, but it's a little window into what's happening, right? And to me, that matters. So I want to try to run against Yurash again and call her out for that. One second, Pete. So the other thing that happened during the campaign, I'm not going too long, it's 2 o'clock. The other thing that happened in the campaign is Kathy Wolf, right, my neighbor, one of our members, a former member of the executive committee, she got a text message from Yurash campaign. And it had her little image and a thing that, oh, you know, I really want to help all the constituents and I want to know what's important to you. You can reach out to me anytime. This is really me. Well, it wasn't really her. I knew it was not her actual phone number because that's in the tracer system. I also knew someone who worked in the assessor's office where she worked at the time. And there was no paid for disclaimer on that ad. And so I made a campaign finance violation against her for that because it lacked the paid for disclaimer. And the Justice Department in Colorado took that complaint because I did the formal paperwork for it. And they investigated enough to at least know that Yara had made a payment to a company that does text messaging services. And so they thought it was a real complaint, right? Because I included a screenshot of what her ad looked like, the text messaging and the picture. And did Yara admit to the problem? We're talking about ethics. Did she admit to the problem? No. Did she, and what did she do? She waited until the day before the hearing and said to the Justice Department, "Oh, I'll settle out of court, out of the hearing. I'll make an agreement with you." Did she negotiate in good faith? No, she did not. She thought, yeah, I'm a Democrat. You know, you could just drop this. You don't have to, accept this complaint. But to their credit, the Justice Department held their ground and said, no, this is a very valid complaint. If we make an agreement, you are still going to have to admit some sort of fault. And she refused. And so the Department of Justice had to go back and reinstate a new hearing date to make her answer for this. What did she do? She ignored all of the attempts of the Justice Department to contact her and to agree to show up, and she just completely blew it off. No integrity, no respect for the judicial system. And so the Justice Department had to make a default judgment. And unfortunately, the fine was a whopping $54 because it's 10% of what she paid for the text. Text messaging is pretty cheap. So, she messed around with her lack of integrity and thinking that her political weight would carry the day, and she ended up paying a $54 fine. I am going to try to make that an issue in the campaign because I don't want to have a representative that lacks any little bit of integrity. She couldn't have a tiniest bit of integrity to deal with that. She couldn't do it. So I think it will be, I will make it an issue in the campaign. So I don't know if I can win. I spent $40,000 of my own money last time around. That was a lot. I don't think I can manage that much again this time. I might be, the fact that I got 37% of the vote might make it easier for me to raise some money this time. So, and that is one of the things that we do need candidates for, besides our grassroots stuff, is to create the muscle from the political contributions to allow us to get our name out more. And so we'll see how that goes. I'm looking forward to I'm going to try to have more fun in the campaign. You know, I learned a lot from 2 years. It was so. I hope you find this interesting. I thought it was interesting that 50% of the votes came in within 2 days of the election. Voters had 2 weeks to turn in their ballots, but they waited till the very end. And I think it speaks to those are the voters that maybe aren't quite sure of how they're going to vote, right? If you know exactly how you're going to vote, why wait, right? You're going to fill out that ballot. I don't want to be late with the ballot, turning in the ballot. So I think there is an opportunity, you know, in appealing to these people who vote at the very end, that maybe they are persuadable. You know, we would get more attention if we had a candidate for governor or U.S. Senate, you know, or something like that. But then again, you're caught in the squeeze between the two major parties. The fact that we are able to get some candidates in a race where one of the two major parties is not there, I think is a really good opportunity for us. So with that, wish me luck, and I'm gonna give it a go.